Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights. Let's talk about what's been going on at Viking Ice Arena. You've never seen a league so exciting and tough and fast. It simply must be discussed on an equally exciting and tough podcast. What's it called? Monday Night Lights. Yeah. Monday Night Lights. Monday Night Lights. What's been going down on the ice? Who are the leaders? Who are the failures? The Ducks, the Tigers, the Nordiques, the Whalers, the Seals, the Americans, the North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the whoop line.
The Monday Night Lights podcast is back. We got a full house. Brian Piercy here with Jeremy Cohn, Troy Otto, and Andrew Hedis made it. How you guys doing today?
Very good.
Doing pretty swell after getting back to the old grind here. Finally, after 2-3 week break and Christmas holiday.
Yeah, like I said, I hope everybody had a good Christmas, and we're doing good. Troy, it's good to have you back as well.
Great to be here. Always nice after a win.
Is he clicked down? Is your mic clicked on?
Test.
I think you flip the switch up. You should know that. You're supposed to be a veteran.
You're supposed to be a
Jeremy
veteran
Cohn
on
know over you?
Test.
On a podcast, something about mortgages and lawyers.
I mean, I'm a mess.
That's what I heard
You
as
take a
well.
month off the podcast, you're just a joke. Rookie.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Anyways, as always, give us a call on the Whoop line, 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show at podcast@mnlhl.com. Follow and subscribe to us on Twitch. Just like Pistol Pete right now, he's on a 3-month streak for subbing to the podcast. You know, it's fellow MNL, players like that help us get beer for the All-Star game. So, make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe. So rate and review the podcast. And if you're interested, let us know. We'll get you a date to come on the podcast as well. So let's kind of get down to a couple news things real quick. I want to see, I don't even know if you know this, Troy, but it's going to be directed at you. Last couple of weeks, we were making a big push for going to the bowling alley after some games. Have we heard anything from the bowling alley about sponsorships or anything?
No, it's really annoying. They're like, I love it. I made my first appearance there. Like, from all the photos, I thought it was like a little shoebox, but when you get in there, I was like, the size of it is awesome. But no, it's like they got that one drunk dude running the place, and I just think it's all full of shit. And I think we showed out in impressive numbers. Now it's like I think we should not go there because it's like why would they sponsor us if we just show up
We're showing up
time?
anyway.
Exactly. So I would show up with either 50 guys or 0 guys. But no, I've heard absolutely nothing on that.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like we had pretty good numbers as a turnout. I know when I went, it seemed like the bartender was pretty happy. She bought us some beer. So
She was like swamped the night before Christmas. It was crazy.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. That kind of shows that we're willing as a group to come out there, especially if we have our end of the year party and even our draft. I think whatever they would sponsor us for, they're going to get their money out of it just there. And then, with the Worms going on Friday sometimes, with going after, especially once it gets cold out, hitting it up after the game. I don't know. Does anybody know if anybody went last night?
Yeah, we had 5 people went last night. Drager, me, Crunk, Dougie, and Woodsy all were there. So I mean, it's not like they're not getting someone to come out every single week. Last I'd heard from Panny a couple weeks ago. I don't know if the white, Ivory Tower connected on that or what, but he had mentioned that he was still talking to the manager above Heather.
I guess I don't understand. Like Trent's gone there 8,000 times, and it's like we don't know who's the decision maker over there.
So it's There's this manager,
Mysterious manager,
but she's a ghost. It's impossible to get a hold of her.
Anyways,
So.
I've stayed out of it, but it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
I think we should. It's either like, look, put up or shut up. For them, not us.
Yeah, and I think at the same time, it doesn't mean we shouldn't go there just because we like the place, but it's not necessarily, hey, you got to work late, but try to make an effort to look good for the league. So head out to the bar when you really don't want to, so you're feeling okay the next day. So, hopefully we could still do our end of the year party. Maybe just trying for a sponsorship going into next year. But
well, to your point, Piercy, if they just did our end of the year banquet, and because what are they talking about? Giving us $2,000? $3,000.
I thought it was,
There's numbers that are they're a little bit higher than that, I think.
Well,
but
in any event, let's just say it was $3,000. It just the draft we have 70 people there. End of the year banquet, 70 people.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna make that back just probably on that night alone,
Right.
and then everything else is just gravy. But the mysterious part is like no one knows who's making the decisions over there.
Yeah, so we'll keep working on it. Hopefully, go out there maybe for next year.
competing interests, cozies right up the street. Show a little poker hand there, eh? Troy's good at that.
Yep.
Little blind.
Which one's cozies?
That's the one Dylan likes. It's by it's right
it's
on
by the
10.
building that's polluting 696.
Yeah,
so
the green
don't drink the
slide.
water.
Not a cozy, just drink the beer. That's what we're there for.
Canned beer.
Yeah,
Yeah, that might have actually been where we ended up having to do the spring draft.
it was. Yeah,
So yeah, it wasn't a horrible bar, but it was pretty small. I don't know if it's necessarily
lot
would
smaller.
hold MNL if we came out in force for a draft.
that's what's cool about the bowling alley is that we know it can hold all of us, which is nice.
It's all about the leverage, baby. Just hold it above the bowling alley's head. We'll go the cozies. We'll go.
I just don't think there's anyone there who gives a shit. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
you need we need someone with a financial stake in the matter to be there. And if it was that drunk dude that was there the one night before Christmas, I hope that's not the guy. Jesus
well, he
Christ.
might be the owner or something, but Heather's the manager. I don't know.
If that's the owner. That's a scary deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, would you be sober if you ran a bowling alley?
Yeah. I don't know if actually running a bar is as fun as it sounds. Like you said, you shouldn't be drinking during it. You're a bunch of drunk people in a bar bowling alley.
Hey, listen, I've watched Bar Rescue. I know how that ends.
I've never seen it, so I can't comment on that. But next thing on the agenda is we actually had the skills competition last Monday as well. I think it went well. I think the majority of people had a good time. So let's kind of run through the events, talk about what we liked or didn't like about it, who kind of did good, who did bad, and then we'll kind of go over like the whole competition as what we thought over all of it. So our first, I don't know if these are in order, I just found them online, was I'm going to call it the Freestyle Shootout, where it was kind of the NBA style. I try to be fun, cute, Generation Z type of thing. What was our thoughts on that competition?
I wasn't there. I was coming home from up north.
You're looking at me like I was there.
Oh.
I wasn't there.
I was, I was gonna let everyone else. I thought it was fun, which I think is the whole point of it. The idea of having the guest judges was very charming because you had like Carson, little Dave P, and then Ethan, who I think is Crunk's kid, and that's charming until it really comes to actually scoring because Carson's my kid is a little serious for 11-year-old, but like the one I can't remember who it was, maybe Weaver, but like Weaver came in and wiped out, completely fell on his face and like knocked the net off the pegs, and like Ethan and little Dave P were like 10, 10, 10, and Carson's like 2, and then Matt Taylor comes in and he does this very impressive thing where he does like the Michigan move where he scoops it up off the ice, throws it up in the air, hits it, and I think it didn't go in. It hit like the goalpost, and then like little Dave P and Ethan gave him like a 2 or something like that, and Carson's like, this is insane. But all that being said, it was the event itself. It was mocking that it's supposed to be fun, and it was fun.
Yeah, the event was pretty fun. I liked the judges. It was fun, especially seeing little Dave P when his dad did his move, which Dave pulled out a nice move, even though he didn't get it. That's not an event for me to participate in. It's not my style of things, but it seemed like people had fun, and I think that's the main thing that really matters there.
It's kind of like the slam dunk I don't know if you could. It was definitely a lot of fun, but like year after year, I don't know if you can keep coming up with like creative stuff. But it was cool.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't be surprised if the next year or so people actually got a little bit more creative after they've seen it once or twice, and then it turns into the slam dunk competition of like, oh, what am I going to do? Go behind my legs again and do this or do that.
Bender goalie was nice. Having Maki and net for that was also a nice touch. Whether it's Skillman next year or Busta, but that was cool too for that portion of it.
Especially because there's one or two times where they're coming over at Mackey, they do something, and Mackey just goes down. It looked like he got shot, and he's just down on the ground. And it kind of helped out the entertainment right there. At least I felt so. Next event on the evening was just the normal shootout. That one I'm actually going to say was slightly disappointing, and I think that was partially just because there wasn't enough goals being scored.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at last night, you had the Tigers versus the Nordiques in a shootout, and I think it went 8 deep. And even in the real NHL skills competition, I mean, it's like the goalies win that. Like everyone like perceives it's like a penalty shot and they're going to score. But I mean, the stats show even at the highest level that the goalies are favored. So then you take that to a beer league level, and I bet our percentage is probably 80-20 in favor of the goalies, So I guess it didn't surprise me too much, but it was nice. I mean, they whipped through it. Did Matt Taylor wind up winning that? It was close.
No, I think it was it
Matt
Sips or Doug?
No. I think Doug made it very far, but I think
Doug might have won it for the Benders technically then.
Yeah, he made it. That one was everyone included, but I think Matt Taylor.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Why
Doug's-
do I bury the poor guy on defense?
That's what I told Panny a couple weeks ago. I'm like,
Doug-
try the guy forward.
Yeah,
guess so.
Not first of all, let's just say there was about 15 people. Only 3 to 4 made it out of the first round because it was kind of like if you make it, you advance. So Matt Taylor, Sips did score first, so he had made it out of the first round. Dougie, and then there's one more
Who
that
did
I'm
Sips
missing.
score on? Do you
that
remember?
that I don't remember. It was not Hedges. It was not Hedges. But anyways, that was a fun one.
Yeah, that was a tough one because there were so many people who wanted to participate in that one. And so it was like a person was going down each way. You'd kind of switch goalies the next time around. There were 3 goalies, so they were switching out. So there's a lot of chaos there. So that one was a little bit tough. There might be a way maybe to have a representative for each team, try to limit it. I don't know. But then again, it's all for fun, so it's hard to try to shut people out from these competitions.
When we get to the end, I'll have the overall experience. I have some comments on that.
Yeah. Next one is our fastest skater award. I think technically Manny won that for the Benders. Trent won that as well for the All-Stars.
Yeah.
What are you shaking your head at?
I just don't, not the Manny portion. I think from the eyeball test, I think Manny probably was the king of the Benders. But you have two different people timing. So you get Panny's blowing the whistle. Okay, so he would say 3, 2, 1, whistle. Okay, and then he hits the timer and he times one guy. Then Ryan Allen, who there's certain kind of like reaction time because he has to wait for. Just like the people going, Ryan Allen has to wait for Panny, so there's probably a split second there, and then he's got a different stopwatch. So the human error is off the charts when you try to go off of a timer basis. And just, again, from the eyeball test, I just didn't think Trent, nothing against Trent, but I'm watching him go around. His time was like 14.8. It was like insanely, it just wasn't, I just don't think it was accurate, but it's still fun. That's why I think you do it bracket style, head to head, and then you have kind
Eliminate.
of then you have a line, and then you have a line judge right there, and then
I totally
That'd be pretty
agree.
cool,
Bracket
some head-to-head
style,
stuff.
bracket style would be the way to go in that event.
it's nobody's fault, but the human error is off the chart. With
As in when me
separate
and you.
timer.
Well, here's the thing: me and you went, and you already admitted to it. You false started, but that is what it is. But it was very close. I heard people say on whoever you dove through. I think when I heard the times, there was a claim that like you beat me by a second and a half, which there's no way you did that. So those times are off there. So I think it's impossible, especially when you're not going a person versus a person to try to judge a time of who's the fastest overall. I think you do have to go, person versus person.
And I think you got to have like the scorekeeper like kind of in the penalty box, like literally right on the red line and watching it.
Yeah.
And just it is what it is because it's going to be razor thin. In my defense, we were the first people to go, so Panny like literally
You didn't get to learn anything.
Well, and Panny was like, "Okay, we're going to go on 3," and then so it was like 3, 2, 1. Long ass pause. Woo! So it's like
he did because I was like getting ready to go, and all of a sudden I see Troy like, woo, and I was like, oh crap. So I know he didn't do it on purpose. We are
So
getting
as far
some
as-
compliments in the chat that they love your facial hair. So
There you go.
Yep.
I do like this MySpace. I don't know if it's like the MySpace angle plus the rail splitters hat. It's like I've been like fat and chubby, but I look okay from this camera angle, so I'll take it.
So as far as the All-Star skaters go, who was who? So Trent won, but was like Sugar part of that or
It was
Serta?
Trent, Sugar, Pistol Pete.
Dave
Matt-
P, who
Dave P,
might
Matt
have been
Taylor.
the slowest
Yeah.
skater out of anybody
No way.
in the whole league. Like Dave P, I have
Short
a
strides.
whole new.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't want to call it respect for him.
Yeah.
A whole new look. Like he's quick. He can start, get to full speed right away. But he
Like
was
his-
looking slow out there.
His long distance is
And Weaver was a guy I think that impressed me as far as surprise
Okay.
type thing. I do think Trent looked like he was going fast when he get those strides going and going around
Trent's
in
a
those
big boy,
circles.
man, when he gets those legs going.
I didn't mean that Trent couldn't possibly, but I think he actually went by himself. Or no, he was racing Dave P, and like Dave P was very slow. And
He
then
beat him
went
by
down.
like half a lap.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't. it's not that I don't think Trent has a chance to win it, but it's like the way the whole thing went down with two different people timing. Trent beat everybody by like a second and a half, and I just don't think that that's possible, you know.
Right.
And then they all went once, you know, and then there was no like after that. It was so I think Sugar and Matt Taylor went at the same time, which was
probably
which
good
was pretty cool, and that was like razor thin. I don't even know who won, you know.
Did Pfister compete?
Pfister did not. I think. I think
What about
was,
Serta?
Oh,
'Cause those are the two guys.
Serta
that I think
wasn't
Serta's
there.
I think
so fast.
Matt Taylor and Sugar, and then I think it was Pete and Gio, and then Trent and Dave P for the All Stars. There might have been one more. There's actually one more because I think Gio went by himself.
Yeah.
There might have been one more.
We also had this goalies have theirs as well, which
Yeah.
was fun because I want to say was J-Flo who was trying to do more of a crossover, and then you had the other guys doing kind of a step turn. Like, what's the way to go in a competition like that of trying to skate fast and go around in kind of the curve?
I don't leave my crease very often, so
I've been taught. I mean, you don't want to cross over in your pads because when you cross over in your
tough.
pads, you're more liable to fall down because I mean it uses so much gear that gets in the way. Even if you make a clean crossover, it's not going to be you aren't going to have your feet set underneath your body. You're kind of stretching out past
And
it.
to that point, like you would think J-Flo because he's like what second or third round skater,
Yeah.
And Cam I've never seen skate out, but Cam blew him away, and I shouldn't say blew him away, but Cam was.
Well, I believe J-Flo fell.
Yeah, but so Cam definitely had the better technique for skating in goalie pads than J-Flo.
I would have had to borrow my old pads to be able to compete in that.
And that's actually the surprising thing because I don't think a whole lot of us really do a full-on fastest lap as we can. That second, I don't know what you felt. That second turn, you felt like you had a lot more speed going, and there was a little bit of like, ooh, could I see myself wiping off on this blade and going into the boards type of thing? And you could tell, especially like with a Trent who really had that speed going, there were some people kind of like, ooh, in that second turn.
It would be fun to have a few like trial laps because like I remember watching Marvin. I did my preparation for this, and the key to this, like you got to keep the legs kind of crossing over around the net, you know, like from watching the Larkins of the world. But like Marvin exaggerated that, like he was literally like little tiptoe baby steps, you know. So, but it'd be fun to kind of, you know, try one way and see what the time is, and then try a different technique. But it was fun.
Yeah. Next event was then the actual accuracy contest. That one was good. The problem with that is the magnets didn't stick to the post long enough, so there'd be times you'd hit the post or something, and then those would fall off. Besides that, it was really difficult. I think Peso was the only one I actually saw have legitimate hits.
Yeah. That falls in the category of looks a hell of a lot easier on TV than in real life because you're up there, you're like fucking 8 feet away. You're like, I'm gonna at least hit 2 out of 4 minimum, and then it's like 8 pucks, 0 for 8. It's just so demoralizing, but a lot of fun.
So I guess that
And
does
those
ring
targets.
true that the players in Monday Night Lights don't really know where they're shooting on
Oh my
goalies.
god, it was bad. And I started it off, and it was like I went 0 for 8, and everyone's oh sniper, blah blah blah. Like the next 5 guys go 0 for 8. You know, it was just like Jesus Christ. The targets themselves were really slick though. Like a kind of a heavy magnet. Because I'd seen it before back when my kid did it. It was like a little goofy thing, and the targets were these cheap little plastic things. But these were like a firm, hard plastic with magnets. But yeah, if you rang the post really hard, it might knock them off. But for our purposes, it was pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was a cooler setup than I was expecting.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
it's hard to say anything bad about that. Last thing was the hardest shot contest. That was just fun to see what it was. Like I know I didn't think I have a chance, but I just wanted to see what I would ring on the radar gun. So
Yeah. Who wound up? Did someone hit 73 or something like that?
I think LePoudre was
Yeah.
in the 70s. McShannock was in the 70s, and Pete were.
Yeah.
I want to say McShannock was 75, 76. Pete was 74-ish. Eric was 73, 74. So a lot of the benders were like low 60s, I believe. So
It would be really cool to see what like a general would go at, see if he could touch the high 70s, low 80s. But then all that does is just blow your mind because you see when Eric got into it, I mean, that baby was moving, and then you figure these NHL guys are a full 20 miles per hour harder than that. It's just fucking insanity to picture how fast that must be.
Yeah, McShannock and Pete had a 74 mile an hour, and then Taylor and LePoudre hit 73, according to my statistician.
Yeah, there you go.
Which was Panny?
Panny in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, like, I think the Charas, I mean, they touch 103, 104. I mean, so that's 30 miles. But I figure in a regular NHL game, those guys are probably cranking at 92 or something, which is just insanely fast.
For sure.
Yeah, and then we weren't able to actually do the relay races or the stick handling courses, so I don't know how those would have went over, but overall thoughts on the skill competition.
So I think that it's not Panty's fault because I also fall into this category. Like, you just assume that people read your emails when in reality, like, people just fucking skim them. Yeah. So, because the email came out, it's like, oh, we're doing the skills and blah, blah, blah. And then somewhere buried in there was like, if you're interested, you know, you have to reply. So I found out about it like after the fact. I was like, what? Panty's like, which ones are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you didn't reply. I'm like, well, I want to do fucking all of them. So I eventually like properly replied, and I participated in a lot of shit. Yeah. Then there were guys that were all dressed, and I don't think they participated in anything. So I felt bad because I think they just didn't read the fucking email and they just showed up. So we had like a lot of guys doing everything, and then not others. So for next year, I definitely think it should be a little bit more organized as far as one, you can't do every event because there's just not enough time, and it's not fair for one guy to do 5 and one person to do none. And then I'd like to incorporate some type of team component to it. So, for example, like every event, there's one person from each team, you know, or 2 or something like that.
The team sponsors, like, hey, we want you to be our hardest shot guy.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Then you could do the relays as a team. Yeah. I think we should actually,
that'd be kind of cool
if we had to do it,
and then you could
for it on it too.
Well, and not only that, so it's like, let's say hardest shot, you know, North Stars win, so we get 5 points for winning that event, you know, and then that way there can be a team winner for that.
Yeah.
And then I do think we need, and I think that's a more fair way to allocate it. And then we can kind of mandate that, you know, certain round guys do it or blah, blah, blah to keep it fair. And then, but my other thing is that I do think there's room, and even if it goes 2 hours, it goes 2 hours.
That's my big thing. Is just take the 2 hours on the Olympic ice and just put that towards the skills competition because that hour wouldn't be close. If you go to try to do an hour and a half, we really were too tight there.
And do sticks and pucks on the other side or family side. But then I do think it would be fun to do some type of, like a relay race, I think would be silly. I mean, that's kind of, I'm thinking like that short track racing. It looks like a car wreck waiting to happen. But I do think if you did something, and they've done, I don't know if they still do it, they change it up, but something like one of those 4 station where you have like the one guy, Kane starts off and does the stick handling, then the second station is the sauce pass into the mini nets, and then
but the next guy can't start
the relay
until he
race?
Finishes.
Yeah, like a relay with multiple events.
Stations, not like a relay track race.
Yeah.
But like Trey was saying, like you got a guy shooting at the targets. Okay, once he finishes, then they can do the stick handling.
I actually thought that's what the relay races were going to be. I guess I didn't know because we didn't get to see them.
Yeah, well, that should definitely be incorporated next year, and so.
It was a
but,
good. It was
but
a good
all in all, it was awesome. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
I think it's a nice step. It was a good idea. It turned out better than I was expecting. I don't know what the turnout was for the actual like open skate / kind of family thing. Well, I know there's kids for sticks and pucks, which was nice, which could be duplicated. I don't know if the actual NHL rink was used by people just kind of skating around much. I think I saw 1 or 2 people out there. So that's something, like you said, maybe you consider using that for sticks and pucks next year, or depending how things go, if we get that ice for 2 hours coming next year, then it could be maybe a split as well. I don't know.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty cool though. At the end, that there was just kind of like a little. I don't have kids, whatever. It means nothing to me, but I thought it was kind of cool that like some of the dads could get out there and play with their kids. And
realistically, it helped Peso start to get that groove back because he started sniping on a
I
little
heard
10-year-old.
he sniped on an 11-year-old.
It's not that he sniped; it's he sniped and then celebrated. Typical Peso.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
he started
and that's not a joke. I mean, I think someone captured a photo. You know, hands up, full blown celebration. It was great.
Oh,
Typical.
that kid.
Typical.
Yeah.
You know what? It's baby steps, man. You got to get him back to where he belongs. So if he needs to celly in those moments, let's get him to celly. Let's get that groove back. You know, after that, I think I saw at a K-Felks game him getting a little bit more wiggle. Wormsy scored. We'll talk about what he did yesterday as well.
Yeah.
So,
he was home. He was back in his Deeks blue. He was happy.
Exactly. So moving on to the pick'em standings. Dylan's still in the lead, but he only had 1 point last night, followed up by Troy. Now moving into second place, only 3 points behind his brother Ty with 31.5 points. See the complete standings. Go to pick'em.mnlhl.com.
Tigers let me down I had 2 points last night. Tigers cost me the full bonus half point, and then I'd be really close.
So that's why
Dylan.
Ty was cheering for us so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know about Ty. I don't know, but I picked the Tigers.
And poor little Dave P, with him not at the rink with me to remind him, forgot to send in his picks. He gets a 0. It's the first time he hasn't been in the top 5 all year.
Plummet.
So
Hey, I've had multiple zeros on there, whether from just picking 3 teams wrong or sending things to the outbox. # Outlook.
I was gonna say you remembered your picks this week, but you had an offer there, so it was a tough week for a lot of people, though. To be fair,
Yeah, a couple upsets.
let's start moving on to the games, though. So the first game of the night was the Tigers versus the Nordiques, with the Nordiques winning in a shootout, 3-4. We have the 2 goalies representing, but I think we're gonna let the winner start on this description.
Yeah, hardly the winner. I guess I don't know. We got the overtime win, but it wasn't the greatest game in the world on my end. I felt like the game was moving in slow motion, or I was moving in slow motion, I should say. And then I had this like weird fucking bloody nose like halfway through the game, and like I just started like bleeding everywhere. And at first I thought it was sweat, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, no, that's blood. And so then I had to like run over to the bench. I tell Pandy, I'm like, get some like tissue paper or something. So he gets me some, and then it's still gushing out, and then that like distracted me throughout like the first half of the game. But got it figured out, and the boys popped in some goals, which was nice. So.
Performance enhancing drugs there, pregame Coner. I see what you guys do in the Deeks locker room.
Shit gets wild over there.
Yeah, 100%.
So what did you see, Hedis?
I mean, the score kind of speaks for itself. It was 4-3 shootout. After the first period, which I mean, if I'm bluntly honest, the first period I thought for both teams was pretty sloppy.
It was, yeah.
I mean, both teams kind of
Long break.
It's
Yeah.
true, Troy. This is very true. It's on point. It was a long break. We got like about halfway through the game, and then I'd say the chances kind of tightened up more defensively. There was more shots from, I guess, deeper in the zone. There wasn't as many, as people crashing the net, more pucks on net, pucks deep, etc. Right? But I kind of disagree with you saying that you felt you looked like not in the zone, or you didn't feel like it. You may have felt like that. But you were pretty solid last night, because while the second half of the game wasn't as active shot wise for both of us, I definitely think you had some really nice saves. You had a key one, especially in overtime, against the vaunted Matthew Taylor, and I had a nice breakaway save there to keep the game reserved.
I think that's when it started
3.
to come together. Was like, because the first period or so, I think that's when all the goals were scored, right? The first period.
Yeah, it was 2-2 after the first, and then the second it was 1-1.
Yeah, so
So how many rounds did the shootout go?
Four or five.
4 apiece, and then Kimmel scored. He scored by put that. He's a win in the net, but like he literally hit my blocker with the puck, and then it went up in the net somehow.
I believe Kimmel had he had a nice goal earlier on, and then I know Fem did as well. I don't know who had the other one off the top of my head.
Peso. We
Peso
were just talking
did.
about him.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
should have
he
known.
found his
Peso
groove,
got his
yeah.
first one of the night with parting his groove back. I think I saw a nice little celebration of joy coming from him. It's funny, whenever he subs, I never see him skate any harder than when he's subbing.
Mm-hmm.
So, trying to make those guys happy to bring him in again, which is always nice. And then Matt Taylor, there was a couple times where he was on a mission last night where he just off the face-off take it, or you could tell he's like, I'm coming in, I'm at least getting a shot and trying to do
some
something.
of the scariest points in the
Did
game
he
is
score
when he
2 of their regulation or
One.
just
first one, yeah.
Okay, and then who had their others?
Chris Taylor had the third, and
Slocum had the second one.
Second. The one with Chris Taylor, it's like, and when I was a goalie, it's like there's just like when the guy comes in on a full clean breakaway, you're like prepared, but when Matt Taylor like dances through your defenseman, it's like I don't know if it like throws off the timing, or you like you're like watching him, you're like, oh fuck, and
like
then
he
he's
kind of like
top,
razzle dazzled in the hands, and like kind of loose side of the puck.
Yeah.
and-
You can't get your feet set. That's the
Yeah,
biggest
too,
thing,
yeah.
because if someone comes in and clean on you most of the times, or like from a blue line, or even if it's like a one-on-one, and you can get to the top of the paint or the crease, you can get your positioning parallel to the shooter in the net. But when someone comes in, like hash marks down in and to be a defenseman or something, you're kind of you don't know whether to come out, because they could defenseman could stop the puck and it could go like one way. You don't know whether to sit deep. It's just a lot of variables to handle. So it's easier, I think, in my opinion, in my opinion, it's easier to stop something that you just have a clean look at.
Right.
Voice having Matt Taylor, Slocum, or Fem, or someone coming in around a defenseman one-on-one, like Troy just said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a few times. I mean, I'm surprised I only got one, but it's like, bless his heart, but like Brennan coughed one up. I mean, there was just like, I was like, Jesus, I'm watching this game. It actually ended exactly how I wanted it as a fan. Like, I was conflicted because in one sense I'm competing with the Tigers, so I want the Nordiques to win. But for the good of the league, I want to keep that the chase for the last spot alive.
It's still very much alive, though.
So by
but
winning,
yeah.
and it kind of served both purposes because I couldn't script it any better because the Nordiques got the win, so the Tigers only get 1 point, but you only get 2, so then it keeps them within 3. So it was a nice ending.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch on a little I don't know, fair play misuse issue or something?
A
You
chant?
bring it up on
Well, we
Slack?
have two.
Oh,
Well,
we have two.
there's
Yeah,
two
we have
issues.
two. I was gonna. That's my
There's
counterpoint.
There's two issues.
It's a counterpunch.
Of course, we incorporated the head, which is for anyone. I don't. Piercy's old enough. These guys are young, but I mean, Osgood when Osgood
Every
was a
time
goalie
he
for
went
the
somewhere
Wings,
on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it was like Osgood. So that was the point behind that. I will say that it made a point, especially in the shootout, when we were doing it. At first, I thought it was pretty fun. Hopefully, it was all in good fun. But I made it very clear not to do it like while the penalty shot was going on or anything like that. Didn't want to distract you. So there's that, and I'll let you touch on that. But the other one is and it's like kind of joking, not joking type deal.
So for just to clear people up, as we've talked about before, Bender overtime is now over, and this has been our first opportunity to have overtime, whoever you want going on the ice possible.
Yeah,
And I was pretty bummed about that. A little more better overtime would have been good, but
we've had that discussion. I mean, I like to see. It's fun to see the highly skilled guys play 3-on-3, and they want to get a crack at it too. So I love Bender OT, but I also like the top end guys having a chance to do it. But I can't speak to what happened at the end of regulation, but allegedly, like Taylor was on the ice for the end of regulation. Then you get to 3-on-3 OT. I'm all in favor, I don't care if Taylor was out there for 5 minutes at the end of regulation. You throw your top line out there, you're trying to win, okay? But then there was with that, like a minute and a half or maybe even a minute left, there's a stoppage. All 5 guys go to the bench, So the Nordiques do a full change. The Tigers, 2 guys go off, and then Matt Taylor stays on. And I don't know if he got his breakaway before or after that, but then Matt Taylor gets a breakaway, he gets stoned, and it was almost like the hockey gods, but it's like, you know what? It's just not right. And this is not a Troy Otto thing. This isn't a joke. I had multiple, and I also don't want to like out anybody, if they don't want to publicly say it on site, but it wasn't just like one person. There was like 4 or 5 people, and not just Nordiques, that are saying that's just not right, you know, because everyone pays the same amount of money, and like, so I don't know who on the Tigers that because of him double shifting didn't get out there. But it violates the spirit of MNL. We're an inclusive league where it's like, it's not the best player wins. It's like it's a team. So I don't think it's right.
I don't know what was going on in the bench for the Tigers, but I will say they had a deep in offensive zone face-off.
Yeah.
And he actually looked back at the bench and was like waving, like, what do you want me to do? And like, I don't know if he was getting emotional, like, no, dog, you stay out there. But
I'm not saying
it was tactically done. I mean, when we got the face off in our zone,
right?
The
one that was in your zone. That's when he sprung for the breakaway.
Yeah, we were like a minute 30 left, whatever it was, after we wasted 40 seconds figuring out face-off technicalities.
What was that all about?
We'll get into. I mean, we can get into that later, but yeah, Skillman just said, like, no, stay on. I thought he was gonna change for McShannock. So normally I would agree probably with Troy. Like, you want to get. I mean, if someone's dying or they're dead, just like change them up, or maybe I would start a McShannock to start the overtime period and then run him out. But I mean, like, McShannock was subbing, I guess, and I don't know, we really want to get the points and beat you guys. So I mean, that's what Skillman thought was best.
To me, it's not a stamina issue. Because Serta could play 10 straight minutes. It's just like a kind of a fairness. It's like you had your crack. You're out there for a full minute and a half. The whole team. And by the way, the Deeks started Joe Brennan. I was like, what the fuck are the Deeks doing? They got Brennan out there to start the game. Nothing against Joe, but he's like an 8th rounder. But it's just like you had the 3 minutes of the end of regulation. You had a full minute and a half, 2 minutes of OT. It's like, get your ass off there. It's somebody else's turn. And I don't think it was a Matt Taylor decision. I think it was probably a management decision. And I just don't think it's right. Yeah. Especially not. I don't think it's right in the play. I don't think it's right in the playoffs, but it's certainly not right in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I know last season the Deeks got accused of it a lot when we had Paulie. And they would be like, well, you're putting Paulie together out there all the time. And it's like, well, sometimes it just kind of works that way. Right? But that one, you're right, it felt intentional. So.
And then it also puts the other team in a bad spot, because then you're the Nordiques, and then let whoever they're Andy Fem or
Right, we got to force him to play more.
exactly.
Yeah.
Then it's like, and then if you don't, then you're at a disadvantage. So I just don't think it's right.
I did find it a little
realistically,
funny
though-
that they accuse Andy Fem of double shifting. It's
Yeah.
like Andy Fem's double shift is about 45 seconds long.
But realistically, to me, it's a double-edged sword. I'm not going to get mad about it because I think there's a few things you need to factor in. You're doing 3-on-3 overtime, so realistically, you're probably only having 6 guys out there. So 4 guys are getting left out anyway. So those guys have to do it. So if you have one extra guy get left out, it is what it is type of thing. So it does suck, but everybody's not going to be playing in that 3-on-3 overtime anyways. You're here to win. People are trying to get that bye. I can see where it goes. Yes, it does kind of suck in a lot of ways. But I mean, I know for me, like there's been plenty of times where worms, whatever it is, it's a close time. We're down by 1, anything like that. I'm playing defense. I'm out there. Trent's a forward typically. He'll be on the bench. I'll run over myself and I'll tell Trent to get out on the ice because I'm looking. I want us to win.
Yeah.
And I know that I might not be the best option at that time. So I can see both sides. I can see why someone would be mad, but at the same time, if it was me in the situation of you're going to be sitting in this
I do too, man.
situation,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be offended by it.
I've been plenty of times, like I said, where we were managing Paulie and Sugar last year, and it's like, man, best players are out there. I don't care. You're sitting on the bench. Or even when I'm in net and we're down by a goal and I got to get my ass to the bench to get an extra skater out there, and I'll see like a later on guy like, oh, it's my turn up. I'm like half foot over the boards. I'm like, get your ass. Like, no, we're sending Judge or we're sending somebody else out there to get that goal.
Mad is not the right term. I'm not mad about it. I don't think other people are mad. It's just not right. And it's not like this isn't the Troy Sports Friday Night League because that's different. You're playing against strangers. They're doing the same thing.
In those examples, I'm just saying it's my choice
no, I get
though.
it.
So I'm just putting myself in a situation that it's not like something if I was in that situation, I'm going to get mad about.
I understand exactly what you're saying. And I'm not really disagreeing with anything that you say, because especially on because you're playing Friday night at Troy, the teams that you're playing against, they're going to throw their best guys out. It's just a different situation. But MNL is not like every other league. It's set up to be kind of fair, and I just didn't think it was right. Mad is I'm nowhere close to being mad. It's just more of
Just kind of like an unwritten rule of
of
MNL. I don't want to add another
Troy
rule.
is morally
but
disappointed in the Tigers.
Yeah, I could see
the
more
moral police over here.
I could see more issues with it if it was 5-on-5 overtime and you're telling one guy on your team that they're not playing in that overtime. I could see a lot bigger issue there than in a 3-on-3 situation.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And hey, look, I mean, apparently there was people on the side of the rink last night chanting my last name, and I didn't even hear it. So I mean, there was lots of more reprehensible things that happened yesterday.
That's funny because it looked like to me you could hear, but you were like such a statue. It looked like, oh yeah, look at him ignore the noise, baby. He's going down.
Schumann actually had to tell me after the game when they were chanting my name. So like I didn't realize what at first I thought it was because there was like a play on the ice because something was wrong, and then I realized and then you had your bloody nose thing. I'm like, oh, maybe they're talking about that or something.
Yeah.
Then it kept happening in the third. I'm like, oh, they're like chanting someone's name. They're probably either or they're like, I don't know or they're chanting the ref's name or something. I have no idea. Then after the game, someone's like, oh, they're chanting your name, chanting Hedis. I'm like, oh, well, they should
I heard it clear as day.
If they said spicy, like that would have put 2 and 2 together right away. But
It doesn't sound as good.
No. So let's move on to our next game of the week. We had the Americans versus the Mighty Ducks, with the Americans taking the win 3-0. Mr. Jeremy Cohn wasn't in this game, but he said he did watch the majority of it. So let's get the breakdown of the game from him.
Yeah, the Nordiques have some. We wanted a certain team to win that game, and it was 0-0 for a long time. And I'm like, fuck, man, the Ducks are going to shock the world and beat the Americans here, but. Over time, I think the skill of the Americans just kind of took over. I think Paulie had 2 of them. I don't know who scored the third, but
I heard it was Gangster Wood.
Gangster Wood.
Woodsy,
that would make sense. Yeah, he had a couple just absolutely amazing opportunities, and he just fucked them all up. I don't know.
Sip. I know that Sips had
I'm glad that
a
he
play
did
when
bang one in.
when I was over there. I saw a briefly of it, maybe 10 last 10 seconds when it happened, and then the cheering. And he explained it very vividly out in the Bat Blue party deck, where it consisted of him, I don't know, getting body position on Kyle Bauer. Bauer's like, oh, you just got past my my thick frame there, and I couldn't get my stick around, and I felt an elbow, and then he had this puck back door, and I was like, that's my guy. I should have had him, but the puck was going the other way. And then, what do you know? Woodsy was there and he scored, and like his Kyle Bauer voice was great. I was like laughing, but Sips definitely was grinning ear to ear. I think when they got that was the third goal.
Yeah.
After talking to them, I don't know what you saw, but apparently like the momentum shifter of the kind of the game was like an open slot chance that Ben had, and he rang it off the post when
Right
it was
off the
1-0.
post. Yeah,
in
could
the
have tied
Americans.
that game back up 1-1. Yeah.
I mean, that could have been like a momentum shifter there. It would swing it kind of back in the Ducks' favor. So
That's always a tough thing where it's a close game going down, like you said, after the first period, keep going on, it's 0-0. You know, you have a lot of pressure on your team knowing that you need these points no matter what. And even just going down one is a backbreaker, and it just puts so much pressure on it, especially then that second goal happens, and it just feels like you get defeated as well. So
And Sugar was feeling it for sure. He was definitely trying to go a little bit harder, a little bit faster throughout the game. You could tell him and Antioch went at it at one point.
there's a cheeky. I mean,
Yeah,
they were
I don't
kind
know.
of jawing back and forth. There's a
Yeah.
cheeky little elbow or whatever WWE throwdown from Antioch.
Yeah, Antioch
after.
kind of just used his body and was like, I'm fucking done with you, and just threw him down on the ice.
yeah, so like I said, I can fully understand that. It sounds like
What was the official score at the end of the game? Was it 3-0 or 3-1?
I thought it was
3-0
3-1.
according to the
Oh,
stat.
3-0.
Okay, so Sugar had a
Who was
breakaway.
the other ref last night?
Nobody,
Nobody.
and then
Crunk
Crunk
can't-
jumped in.
No,
5
Crunk
minutes left.
Crunk
Crunk
jumped in
jumped
once that
in
game-
the last 5 minutes.
It's supposed to be Kimmel.
Supposed to be Dave P, from what I was told.
Well, Dave, yeah.
Right, and then
or
Kimmel,
Kimmel.
yeah. Anyway, so there was like a
The
breakaway.
correction. Well, it's supposed to be Dave P.
So there's like 5 seconds left to go, and Sugar comes in on a breakaway, and he does his normal move. And I don't know, I couldn't tell if the puck went in or not, but he kind of like crashed into J Flow, and I was like, man, if it was any other goalie in this league, Sugar's getting his fucking head patched in for hitting the goalie like that. But like J Flow, Mr. like too cool and calm and collected, was like, oh, it's okay, bud, it's all good, we won, and just skates off the ice. But so I didn't
That
know
probably
if
pissed Sugar off even more.
they probably did.
I thought it was a goal.
Did
too.
you see it?
I thought it
at
was
the
a
end?
goal. Honestly, I personally thought like it was a goal because the puck went in before like he
I
slid
thought so
in.
too, yeah.
But I mean, you know, the refs and everybody else and the panty commissioners like, oh, I see what you're trying to do, Hedis. You're trying to make sure that there's another goal goes in on J-Flow and then you move up the goalie stand. I'm like,
Well, I mean, yeah.
no, that's not what that's not the name of the game, okay, Panty. You want to be lower in the anyways. Point being, but yeah, it was very, very cool, calm, collected. Even though we were trying to rile J Flow up, I'm like, give him the blocker, give him the blocker.
I know, yeah, I was right there with you. I'm like, come on, I want to see a fight here. But yeah, everyone was just kind of like, we won the game, we're done.
Yeah, then our final game of the night was the Golden Seals versus the North Stars, with the North Stars taking it home 8-1 in a very convincing win. So,
Hey, big boy.
Mr. GM of the North Stars over here, we're going to come over to you.
Who, me?
Sound
that?
the
Was
Roman
there-
horns.
Was there a game last night? I don't know. But yeah, like I said, it was a perfect storm. You know, the Seals were a little ripe for the picking, as in regards to their cockiness level and Dylan and everything that he brings to the table. So, and then you combine that with their playing. They literally had 5 guys on their second skate of the night. So it was the situation was set, and we kind of took advantage of it. Jumped up. It was 1-0 early, then 1-1, then we made it 3-1. And similar to the bin moment, there was a point in I believe the second period. Pfister had a breakaway, and Pfister did his move. It was like I call it the Connor McDavid from last night, but basically he came in and did his goes to the backhand, then comes back to the forehand and then flips it up. And I've seen that move work many a times. But Riley made a glove save, and so no reaction. Like, I thought it was in the net because he was just so calm. Like, and then it's like, nope, it's in his glove. So instead of being a 3-2 game and kind of up for grabs, it was still 3-1. Then we scored to make it 4-1, and then it was just kind of. I think they kind of just packed it in for the third period. I think we scored 4 in the third period. So Sub Trent had a hat trick. Gio 2 more goals, continues to be red hot as a North Star, and then Joe Ellis had just a beautiful snipe tie.
That honestly, that was probably the goal of like the snipe of the night. Fem had like an unreal shot yesterday. I didn't see it. Obviously, it's being scored on me, and Kimmel's goal was unreal too. But like Joe Ellis maybe had a $50 worth of room between Dylan's shoulder and like the crossbar, and he's like, oh. It's going right there, baby. Babe Ruth calls a shot and just rips it.
Yeah, it was just it was a ting, So, and then I got one at the end. So it was just, and then Gio, got another. So 8-1, it was awesome.
Is that the most goals scored this season?
I was about to say
The
that,
all-time
yeah.
record is 9 goals from the Ducks.
Yeah.
Not this year, but it was a nice night.
Sounds like it's one of the higher scoring games this year.
Yeah.
Let's not forget Peso on the other side. He got another goal, even though he officially has 0 goals on the year. So
Yeah.
He's a
slowly
super
getting
sub.
that groove back.
Yeah.
Although we haven't really had a good game of like a good barn burner. It seems like most of the games that it's a blowout one way or the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, I will say the important thing. It's always fun to beat the Seals, but it was very important for us. There's definitely people were saying it was a 2-horse race for second between the Americans and the Tigers. But after last night, it's
You guys are right
definitely
in there.
we're right in the mix. So all 3 of those teams control their own destiny. They all still. You don't think you control your own destiny?
No, you're saying it's a 3-horse race. No, it's a 1-horse race, baby. And and the Tigers are sitting in this chair right here for next week.
Oh,
But
Let's
it's
go.
but it's a 3-horse race for that 2 seed between the Americans, the Tigers, and the North Stars. One other comment about after the game, and I don't know if Dylan's listening live, but pretty disappointing. We all love Dylan. You know, he's loosey-goosey, going after floozies. We all love him. I love the fact that he talks shit. It keeps it interesting. Like, I love guys that run their mouth. So I do not want to discourage that. But then when you just get your fucking teeth kicked in, you can't hightail it out of there, and you don't hang out on the party deck. You're silent on Slack. It's just that's again part of MNL, and I know he's a rookie, but when you get your ass kicked, you go out on the Labatt Blue party deck and you take your lumps. And the veterans of the Seals understand that. Whoop was there, Shawnee were there, and you kind of
Pfister was there. and Uncle Pfister, Rico was there.
Pfister's a complete gentleman.
Consummate professional.
He really is. So so Dylan, I love him, and I don't want this to be like, oh, you ran your mouth, fuck you. It's like, keep running your mouth. That makes it fun. But then you gotta fucking take your medicine.
And it's one thing with someone like Dylan who is typically every week hanging out on the party deck, going out, being loud after games. It would be one thing if he's a guy who's like, I got to get to work early, I got to go, but he's not that guy. He's a guy who hangs out, he likes to have fun, he likes to say, we're winning it all, Skillman's throwing me a pool party, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I agree with you on that situation.
And I don't think he played just looking back, it's not like they're cheap goals, you know. I mean, I'm sure any goalie you think you could you give up 8, you think there's a couple that you could have stopped.
Yeah,
I'm not going to speak for Dylan here, but I think we all know he would say that he should have had every single one of those goals, and that it was all his bad. And next week, boys, I'll put the team on my back.
Yeah.
He does need to sign up for the Joe Brennan breaking your stick school, because I think
Did he break
threw
one?
it. He threw it or something, and
Good.
it bounced in the corner and didn't break. He looked like he
didn't
was
break.
a little mad about that. So
I can give him some lessons. I've broken enough myself. So
maybe he could go to you. Maybe Joey doesn't know how to break a goalie stick, so
Yeah.
maybe it's a cone thing he goes to. I don't know.
I got 2 sticks right now, and both of them are like barely hanging on. So
If you start getting that edge, you go to the bench and switch
give
out
me
your
my
stick,
shitty
so then you
stick,
can be ready to go at any point.
I'm just glad you didn't do the Dylan chant there, man. You might put him over the bridge, man.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
it's
this
tough to
is-
chant during the game. I mean,
when you're playing
it's a
in it.
spectator sport, you know. I don't think chanting from the bench is appropriate. From the stands, it's okay. Like Ty,
That's where he draws the line.
Exactly. That's what Ty was telling anyone that would listen. I paid for my ticket. I can do what I want. You know. So there you go.
So this is probably by far obviously the worst game Dylan's ever played in Mondays. I mean, do you think maybe we're going to see a decline there? Or is he still going to maintain that 1 point? What's he got, a 1.6
Well,
GAA?
even with the 8 goals, his goals against average only went up to 1.71.
Oh, I pointed that out today on Slack. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. We lit him up for 8, and I looked at it, it was like 1.7. I'm like, maybe Panny didn't upload the stats. I'm like, nope, he did. So
No,
what
he
was he
did.
at before? Like 1.3 or
1.3,
something?
yeah, I went up half. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
Where
I
are we
will
at now?
say-
Is any goalie over 3?
No,
I'm
every
probably flirting
goalie's
with it
under
right
3, and the next closest 2 people is after J Flow's shutout last night. We're both at 2.07.
You and J Flow?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you gotta put. It can be done, but people are gonna have to keep scoring. I will say that Dylan has definitely. I mean, he's all the goalies. All jokes aside, are fucking good. I mean, we have good goalies in this league, but I do think that Dylan's been kind of fighting the puck a little bit. You know, I can't remember where else he played. I don't think it was an MNL game, but I just think he's shown some cracks.
That Worms game. we
Yeah,
played?
I think he's shown some cracks of being kind of human. So we'll see.
He just needs to stop doing two-a-days is all it is. You know, he does two-a-days, gets the legs tired after hitting those ham hawk squats.
I was gonna say, maybe he's getting in
gets
too
tired.
good a shape. I think I saw a picture of him with, I got my little frame that goes through pictures. It was like at the draft, him and Whoop together, and I was like, it looks like he's dropped quite a few pounds. Maybe he's almost too quick for his own good all of a sudden.
He said he's lost like 50 pounds. So
He's shrinking. A lot more net to shoot at.
Yeah.
When you see those pictures from the draft, you can definitely tell. And maybe he's moving faster than what he's used to, so he's just not in the spot where he expects it. I don't know. Just coming up with things. But let's move on to the power rankings. We're just going to go through these, and then we'll probably go right to the standings because they kind of relate to each other. But the OFP Troy Auto power rankings, he's got the North Stars number 1, followed by the American Seals, Nordiques, Tigers, Ducks, and the Whalers. Looks like you have something to say about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've tried. Like, it's hard. This week I found it particularly hard. It's always hard, but I think the North Stars after the trade we're 3-0. We convincingly pumped the league champ. So I don't think there is a huge debate putting us up there at number 1. Americans at 2 makes sense. Seals dropping to 3, I think, is fair. It's like they have to drop, but it's like I don't think you can go too far down. And then, do I think I put this in my thing, too. Do I think the Nordiques are better than the Tigers? Like, no, but they beat them head-to-head like last week, so I didn't feel right putting the Tigers ahead of the Nordiques, so that's kind of how I did that. And then again, the Whalers, in checking, they didn't play, and even though their individual players had kind of nice nights with Trent and Peso, they've lost 4 in a row. And they were on a bye, and last time the Whalers and the Ducks played, the Ducks curb stomped them, so I thought putting the Ducks above the Whalers was fair. So that was my rationale. Come at me.
Yeah, you can't get upset about that. Really, at this point in the league, it's more about the actual standings, which we'll move over to. So we currently have the Seals first place, followed by the with 30 points.
I want to go back to that. Did
Sure.
you have the Deeks at 5?
4.
We had to go to a shootout just to beat the Tigers.
But-
that was generous. I appreciate it. But
Yeah, but
I
I
don't
put
know.
you. But I couldn't put you above the Tigers above you because you beat them, and then you're ahead of the Ducks, and then you're ahead of the Whalers who have lost 4 in a row. So who should I put ahead of you?
No.
You know?
When I hear it that way, I guess
it
you're right.
I mean, it
but-
makes sense. I'm not complaining. I mean,
Okay. When I hear that, yeah.
I like missing like Matt Laputria back on defense last night may have kind of screwed or gelled with whatever team, just like everybody else is missing people, like they're missing Doc and everything else. But at the end of the day, like it just kind of per week basis, like did you win, did you lose, like what happened?
Yeah.
So I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I don't disagree with it.
Yeah, and back over to the standings. So the Golden Seals are currently in first place with 30 points. They've actually clinched the playoffs with the Americans 25 points, who have also clinched the playoffs. North Stars right now are in third place with 23 points, but they've played 14 games, with the Tigers next up with 22 points, who've only played 13 games. So North Stars have a game in hand in that situation. Whalers are at 17 points, 13 games as well, followed by the Nordiques with 15 and the Ducks at 12. Both of those teams are at 14 games as well. 6 or 18 games in the season right now, so 4 to 5 games left for everything. Again, I think we're pretty good with the Seals getting the bye. I don't see how they could blow that. So we have the Americans, we have the North Stars, and we have the Tigers. As of today, who do you think is going to get that other bye?
The only unbiased opinion in the room coming here with Cone.
I think you got to go with the Americans. J. Flo and net, Paulie up front. It's Proctor's dream. He's always wanted to go into the playoffs, not being the number 1 seed.
I'm going to agree with that as the other unbiased person, the trusted voice of the league.
Yeah, right.
I think it's got to be the Americans. I think they have the talent there.
Yeah.
J. Flo and net played a great, he had a shutout last week. You got Proctor, Antioch. That's a hard combination to stop. Lots of other good talent on that team. I think they're the team to beat going in there. Plus, they do have that 2-point lead as well. I guess technically you could say the Tigers, if they actually win with their 14th game, they're going to be at 25 as well. So it is a race there. Hedis, what are your thoughts there?
I think it. This is gonna sound. I mean, it's gonna sound conceited the way I say it, but I mean, I feel like we're let's lock it in. We're gonna get that bye, and it's gonna come down. The biggest game I think is gonna come down to actually the very next game when we play against you guys.
Yeah.
This upcoming week, the North Stars, because we're both fighting. Like whoever wins that game. I mean, if you guys were to lose that game, for example, I mean, you have 15 games played. At that point, you only have 3 games left.
No, we got to win
on your cycle. So I mean, and we still play the Seals, which are ahead of us, and we still play head to head against the Americans. So I mean, if we win next week, I'm not saying it's a lock, but like we have a game at hand, and then we have like the 2 teams above us. We control our own destiny. So I mean,
that's pretty cool, and that's a good point. I mean, like if you guys lose,
no, we're out. Like all these teams, the Americans have a little bit of fluff because they have the standings. Tigers have a little bit of margin for error because they have a game in hand. We have 0 margin for error, but at the same token, we still play the Tigers. We still play the Americans. The Americans still play the Tigers. So this will be decided on the ice. But if we it's a knockout game for us. Like we need to we need to win both the head-to-head games to have a crack at it. So we'll see.
Yeah, and how much are you concerned about if you don't get the bye getting the 3rd seed compared to the 4th? Is there
a lot because I don't want to. I mean, you don't know exactly how it's going to shake out, but. I'd like to get the 3rd seed because then you're playing the Nordiques or the Ducks, who I think are. But it's slightly easier. But to me, the allure of the bye is I don't care about having the bye. So
you want to skate, but you want to make sure you advance in the playoffs no matter what.
Well,
anything can
it's
happen.
A guarantee. The bye gives you a guaranteed 2 out of 3 series.
Right.
That's what I don't. So if the 3-6 game was a 2 out of 3 series, it would be kind of nice to get to play more hockey, but the one and done game is extremely scary because anything can happen. So I want the bye just to guarantee that we got a 2 out of 3 series. That's the big draw for me.
For sure.
That's fair. And over on the other end, we have the Whalers, Nordiques, and the Ducks. So, Whalers have played 1 less game of the other 2 teams. We have a whole 3-point lead with the Nordiques. We got max points. Whalers can get 32 max points, Nordiques 27, and 24 for the Ducks as of right now.
27. How come we weren't included in that competition for second here?
That's your max possible points if you guys win out. Let's go to a neutral source of Hedis. How do you see this one shaking out?
I took the not the high road. I took the avant-garde mode a couple podcasts ago, being like, "Oh, the North Stars are gonna not make it," and then I was like, before that, "Oh, the Whalers aren't." So, realistically, like taking an actual analytical look at it, it's gonna come down. I feel between the Nordiques and the Mighty Ducks. Granted, both the Nordiques and Mighty Ducks still have to play against the Whalers. So the bottom 3, like those 3 teams, like your team.
We've
obviously.
already played the Mighty Ducks our last time.
Oh, excuse me. You already played the Mighty Ducks, but the Mighty Ducks still has to play against Nordiques in the second last game of the season. And I feel like that's going to kind of come down to who will or who won't make the playoff stand there. If either your team can get any points or squeeze any more points out, from like a stone sort of thing, get a point in a shootout, get a win in a shootout, beat us like you did last night, kind of upset some people. That changes the equation. But or how it stands right now, I'm probably gonna have to say the Mighty Ducks aren't gonna make it. Just because head to head, you guys are tied right now. Currently, we're correct
with the Ducks. Yeah,
with the Ducks.
Yeah.
You guys both have 1 win apiece. So even if they do win, but you were to sneak another point here or there, you only need 1 more to make it a 2-game difference. This is 15-12. So if they catch you and they beat you in the head to head, is it head to head that's the tiebreaker?
Right.
And then Troy, we have our other unbiased source over here. What are your thoughts?
He didn't decide.
Oh, I thought he said the Ducks.
He said the Ducks are going to miss.
I'd say probably the Ducks are going to miss. Okay. Unless, if they beat you guys and you don't get any more points, is it head-to-head as a tiebreaker? That's my next question. If it is, then they would shoot you out.
If it's a 2-team tie, head-to-head is the first tiebreaker. Yep. Yeah. I think the Whalers, given the standings, they got a 2-point head start, plus they've had their bye. Mm-hmm. I think it'd take a pretty epic collapse. And to be candid with you, the Whalers might not have to earn another point, and they still might get in, because for both of those teams to jump them, I think would be difficult. So the Whalers are most likely in, and they're most likely locked into that 5 seed. That's kind of my prediction. For the other 2, so if the teams were tied right now, I would probably take the Ducks. I think I like their team slightly better than the Nordiques, but the Nordiques have a 3-point lead. That was huge, stealing 2 points last night. Even if they would have gotten 1 point, just kind of getting points out of the games that you're not supposed to. They were playing the Tigers, and that was a huge 2 points for the Nordiques. So The Ducks are in kind of the same situation that the North Stars are, going for the 2-hole. Like, their head-to-head game against the Nordiques is an absolute must-win, and they probably have to win in regulation. So if they win that, it's kind of anybody's ball game. From the Nordiques' perspective, they have a lot of margin for error because they can lose that head-to-head, and if they can just muster out another point anywhere else on the schedule, it gets them. So, but my official prediction, I know I got Big Cone standing right next to me, but I think the Ducks are going to win that head-to-head game with the Nordiques, and I think the Ducks are going to still pull it off. Quack, quack, quack.
Cone, let's get your analysis on this last spot.
Sure. I mean, the next 2 out of the next 3 weeks are huge for us because we got a head-to-head with the Whalers. That would get us 3 points, and then we would control the season series with you guys. And then I think we play the Americans in between, and then we play the Ducks. And then again, it's a season split right now. I think right now, with having Turtle back, the Ducks are probably the better team. But after completing the trade and playing a couple games, we're starting to gel a little bit. It's going to come down to the wire, man. But I'd like to think that we're going to pull it through and we'll be able to win that one out.
Yeah,
My prediction of the Ducks, by the way, is like 50.5 to 49.5. I mean, it's razor thin as far as my confidence level.
We're not exactly like a flashy team, and like we said that from when we drafted the squad, we're not that type of team. So it makes perfect sense that this is the situation that we're going to be in, and we're gonna gut it out and grind it out and get some points here down the stretch.
Yeah, from the Whalers' perspective, it's always scary. You like our points position compared to these other teams. I think when we broke down the actual second turn of it, we actually did play pretty good on those points-wise. But then with the one Ducks game, we lost that one, so that makes the momentum go down. We haven't actually played a game now in 3 weeks, so it's kind of coming back. We do have some guys that have been playing hockey, but there's probably some other guys that haven't played hockey in close to a month. So that's another scary thing kind of going into these next coming games. Maybe it helps their body out a little bit. Maybe it doesn't. But I have to think in my head is if we get 1-2 points, we're probably pretty safe. We probably want 3 to 5 points just to
You're
ensure.
probably safe to get into the playoffs, I would say.
Right.
But you're not going to maintain that. Right now you're in 5th, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, realistically, it's going to be tough to catch those other 2 teams. So we're probably looking in. Does it really matter if we're playing at the 4-5? Does that matter either way if you're 4 or you're 5?
Home ice advantage. Last change.
Yeah.
Last change, baby. It matters.
But
you get to see if
no,
Matt
it
Taylor's
doesn't
out in the ice in OT. If you want to
Right,
match up Fem or
exactly,
you want to match up Peso against them.
You don't get the Hedis chance,
Yeah, apparently. Those totally worked last night.
So if we can hold on to that 5, which I'm not saying is a total gimme or anything like that, we're not going to catch up to the 3rd spot.
Yeah.
Like realistically. So if we hold into that, it doesn't matter. We're going to still be playing that same team no matter what.
And
so
to your point, even if you slide into 6th, it's like
You're
you don't
in.
even know who's going to be the 3rd seed. I guess, do you have a preference as to who you don't want? Assuming that you're correct and the Americans get the bye, the second bye, do you have a preference between who you want to play between the North Stars and the Tigers? Hot take?
I feel like we can beat any team in the league.
Yeah.
So I think our main thing is kind of getting these last games. Obviously, our first thing is to get these points to ensure that we're in the playoffs, hopefully get Peso going, and just, kind of get the offense. If we can get the offense going in this next turn, that's what we really need because I think we do have a lot of talent on our team. We have the ability to beat anybody. We haven't had that we haven't had that synergy going, the
Trent's
team chemistry type
Trent
thing.
had about 4 goals on Friday night. He had 3 goals last night.
Trent's been on fire lately. Peso's been picking it up the last week or two. We need that to, in our games on Monday, we need that to happen. And if we can do that, if Peso starts scoring and Trent's scoring like he does, we're going to be a tough team to beat.
Definitely.
So, yeah, sounds like most of us are thinking the Ducks right now, but it wouldn't be a shock if they snuck in, especially with that matchup.
And don't put anything past Sugar either. When it comes down to the wire like that, like he's gonna make sure he's out there trying to score every chance he gets.
What
Just
did
a
the Ducks,
fucking competitor.
Brick just kill the guy. Sugar's there throwing his stick like a spear,
Seriously,
trying to win
yeah.
the game.
Yeah, he's a competitor.
You just clicked your mic off again.
I didn't think that sounded right. Did the Ducks stick? What was the lineup? Did they do the bin? I can't remember now what did they do lineup wise? Did they do bin and Turtle and then Sugar and then Sugar and Bauer? Okay. Yeah.
I think that's a good matchup. If I mean, Turtle and Bin lit us up pretty good on that game before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they're tough, and Sugar, he has such a motor. He can do a lot of stuff on his own, and Bauer isn't a slouch. I've seen improvement out of him the last turn as well. So, getting back into the groove on that side of things. So, has that little bit of help. But we all know Sugar, he can do a lot on his own as well. Mm-hmm. So you put him on that second. I don't know if it's a second line or not, but you hope to get a little bit better matchups there and let him run wild.
Yeah,
it just shows how tough the Americans are. You can outplay them, but they got J-Flow and net. They got solid D, and then Proctor Antioch get their chances.
But you got a Proctor Antioch on the top line, and you got Stars, your defenseman, and J. I'm like, jeez, man.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you can outshoot the Americans, like 12-6, but
right.
They're going to score on their 6. They're going to score on 3 of their 6 shots, and then good. It's just they're a tough matchup, no doubt about it. We have not. It's matchups are interesting. Just to it's like certain teams you kind of feel like good against, and others you don't. Like we've beat the Seals 2 out of 3 times this year. And then in the one game that we lost, it was extremely tight, and they're running away in the standings. But we can't fucking beat the Americans. We're 0-2 against them, and so matchups are tricky.
Mm-hmm. And that brings us to next week's game. So we have the Mighty Ducks versus the Seals, the Nordiques versus the Whalers, and the North Stars versus the Tigers. Now, that first game obviously is a huge matchup just because we've been talking about the importance of the Mighty Ducks getting a point. Golden Seals, hopefully their lineup returns. They're probably going to be out to make a point next week, so I think that's going to be a tough game on that side of things. But then we get to I'm going to call them the crucial matchups. Nordiques, Whalers, obviously 2 bottom of the teams. Mm-hmm. If one team can take 3 points in that matchup, it's going to be huge. I know you guys have, is it Fem out? You guys have one guy out because I heard you're bringing in Pfister next week.
Fem's out, yeah.
So you already lined up a sub there. So Panties.
That's a little breaking news that has not been reported in the Ivory
that
Tower.
Hasn't yet. No. It was
hashtag trust.
It was yeah.
Hey,
trusted voice always knows.
Different. I mean, that's different. I mean, that's just different because Pfister's going to be on his second game of the night. Andy Fem's a race car. Yeah. Pfister's more crafty. It'll be interesting.
But yeah, I think if either team takes 3 points there, that's going to be huge in that matchup. So
I think from the Ducks perspective, just looking at that schedule, it's like if they can get out of next week even for that week, like if they both, like right now, if I was the Ducks, if you could just make me an offer, it's like, look, both of you are going to get 0 points. I think I would just take it and roll on to the next week.
Survive to the next week. Because who are they playing? They're playing
playing the Seals, and I think the Nordiques have a winnable matchup against the.
Seals are going to be fucking angry.
Yeah, so I think from the Ducks' perspective, it's like if they can, if they come out even from next week, then they just want to get to that head-to-head game.
Yeah,
they want to be within 3 points for the head-to-head because again, if they win, they control that tie.
I was going to say the Ducks have to be cheering for the Whalers. It's just like last night. It's just like the Tigers it was like go Tigers, go Tigers, go Tigers, because it was just like we don't want the Ducks getting any points there type of thing. Where I would imagine since we're 2 points ahead of you, they're within 3 compared to 5. Right. They're going to want you guys to get 0 points because you're the closest there. So the next guy up getting points is just that much more crucial there.
You are only 2 points ahead of us.
But we also have a game in hand as well. So on that situation, I would have to. If I was the Ducks, I'd be hoping that the Whalers won that, just like last night I was hoping the Tigers would beat you guys as well.
Yeah. Oh, next week's going to be fun.
Can you guys,
every Monday, man.
Can you guys both lose? Is that a possibility? That's what you guys are both praying.
I don't think that's true. And then our last matchup of the night, it was going to be the North Stars versus the Tigers, a
huge
crucial matchup for that bye week as we're talking about.
So are these both the 10 o'clock games?
Those should be both the 10 o'clock games based on the order. I just copy them from the schedule.
It is.
Wow.
Ducks and Seals are 9. Yep.
Lucky those guys. They get to watch these two. I mean, these are going to be 2 good games, man. Both teams playing for all 4 teams playing for something.
There's the Tigers, North Stars. A lot of storylines. We have the trade.
Yeah.
You have the trade combined with the race for the Americans are on a bye, I believe. So the Americans are idle. So the winner of this North Stars Tigers game will temporarily, if it's in regulation, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know if we win in regulation, we vault to second place overall. So a huge game. You know, I know Hedis is going to be fired up.
Oh,
Face his
buddy.
old mates.
Oh, buddy. And you got
fired up.
Riley as your goalie, too. Let's go.
Yeah, it's one of these things you'll get a little nervous. You know, I guess not. You don't want to be too hyped up. You know, it's like I don't think you can. As a skater, I think like the energy is good. You know, because it gives you a little more pep in your step. But from a goalie perspective, you know. And I think Riley just has ice in his veins. I don't think he gives a shit. But I think
I don't think it's ice, but he definitely doesn't give a shit.
But I think Hedis is either gonna I think we're either gonna fucking bomb him for like 4 or 5, and we'll just see a fucking blow up show.
That never happens. That doesn't happen.
Or he's gonna play, fantastic. So we'll see.
That doesn't happen. Like even if we give a 5 against the Nordiques, I mean, I wasn't out there breaking my stick or anything. I was like, well, we lost 5-2 first game of the season.
Yeah. Also, real quick, it looks like Nathaniel Martin 937 started following us. So I'd like to thank you for the quick follow there.
Thanks, bud.
Nate.
Yeah, and like we said, the Americans are on the bye. Troy Otto already said if Matt Taylor is out, he would approve Mr. Proctor to sub for him. So that's exciting.
I just thought it was a nice thing to do, because Proctor doesn't get to sub, and again, like Proctor's a comparable player. I think since we're the 10 o'clock game, so if we weren't such nice guys, well, especially now Fister's off the table, I guess they'd have Sugar, so it's not like we're doing a huge favor, but it's more of just giving Paulie, he whines on Slack. It's like throw him a little bone. And I'm sure Matt Taylor's going to be here, so it's going to be moot anyways, or maybe he's not. But anyways, nice gesture to 2-2, let him out there.
You're just teasing him a little bit. It's not nice of you.
Yeah, that's possible.
He took a nice little high stick to the face in the Ducks game. Ryan Z came out to play the puck, and Paulie just skated right into his stick, and he crashed into the boards, and everyone watching kind of did like one of those, like,
yeah.
Don't mess with those goalies, man. They're dirty, and they don't give a fuck what they do to you.
Ryan Z.
Not Ryan Z. Ryan Z had no idea what happened.
Yeah. Ryan Z almost killed me last year. I
Really?
don't know if anyone remembers that. Completely inadvertent, but he
slammed the stick.
Yes, he was a goalie anger, and he threw his stick, and it went like right past my neck.
That was against us. I remember that.
Oh my god, very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Goalies.
so we're coming down to the wire. This was what, week? I don't know what it is, but essentially we have some teams with 4 games left. We have 2 teams with 5, so we have 5 weeks left. So it's coming down to the wire. I think this is probably the closest, I guess we've pretty much always had everybody make the playoffs.
This is a
so
great
there
format.
hasn't been that pressure of keep winning, stuff like that. There's obviously been, we want to make sure we're in the 3-game series type thing.
Compared to last year, this is just awesome, because last year it was so anticlimactic. I think the Nordiques said we're kind of like far and away the number 1 seed. There was a small little battle for like the 2 seed to, for the second bye, but other than that, like no one gave a shit. The Americans were horrible, but they were in the playoffs. So it's like at this time it was more like, okay, let's just get to the playoffs. But this is awesome. I love the. As hard as it's going to be for that team that doesn't make it, I'm going to feel bad for them, but it's made the league a lot more interesting.
What's nice is that as much as we hate that bye week of just being a one and done, if you're the team that doesn't make the playoffs, you're just playing 1 week of meaningless hockey, and then you have company.
Yep.
Yeah, and I agree. I like someone not making it. Whereas if we do ever expand to 8 teams, I would still say let
2 people don't make it.
Let
then.
6 teams make the playoffs
Yeah.
again. 2 people are out.
Yep.
There's even more pressure because it just puts more on the line when it comes to those situations.
I know we love talking about expansion of 8, but I was thinking about this the other day of when we first started with just 4 teams and the rivalry we used to have with those 4 teams, because you played them once a month. It was crazy. Like I kind of forget the last time. Like, fuck, we did lose 6-0 the last time we played the Ducks because I haven't played them in so long. But man, I remember playing the Seals back in the first season. The art Seals with
Starline, baby.
the Starline, and Uncle Whoop was running his mouth the entire time. And
Was Piercy a grind line center on that
I think
team?
he was, yeah.
Or a wing? Was it you and Neville? Oh, were you part of the right wing? Or did they moved you to D to get out of the right wing?
No. That was on the Whalers.
The Whalers moved you to D.
I would play. We would kind of rotate the center. We had Mr. Pecora, who was
Pecora and Neville.
Cherry.
He was too good to actually be part of a rotation on the second line. So me, Whoop, and Neville, we all did like a 3-man rotation to help it, so there wasn't
Yeah.
someone kind of just always getting screwed. So
But it was very
don't
rare
think-
that 11 showed up, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, remember Whoop would always he'd skate 10. He could be out Shawnee and he'd be like, "We're skating 10."
Yeah.
That's the way to go. And then actually season 2 on the Whalers, that's where again we had 11, and
Did we have 11 the second year, too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't
Yep.
until last year that we saw
it was tough, and I think Whoop made me play defense a couple times for the Worms, and it was like he's like, "You're gonna play defense now," and then the Whalers needed a defenseman. I was like, "I'll for a game or two," and I was like, "I'll do it." And then Trent, we still didn't have one. I was like, "Trent," because I figured out in my head, I was like, if I play defense, it's only a 4-man rotation. I don't have to deal with this shit.
And the Proctor stopper was born.
Thanks,
Hey, I caught Gio from behind last night too, just for the record.
He never lacks confidence.
My ankle's probably about 97% now. So once it gets to that 100 before the playoffs, just watch out.
Boys better watch
Flash.
out.
Master of the Proctor.
So that's all I have for today. Does anybody else got anything?
I think we covered it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one more thing. Hashtag fuck the North Stars. Hey, and then
Big game.
Hey, we'll see what happens.
I mean, I was watching the Tigers. I mean, it is what it is, but I was watching the Tigers, and I know they definitely missed Matt LaPoudre. Not discounting that, but you know,
But they brought in McShannock.
yeah,
I mean, McShannock
well, it's
is
a completely different player, and McShannock's all over the place. You know, talent-wise, they're similar, but just
Yeah.
style of play. You know, if you're not used to playing with McShannock, I'm sure that kind of caused some issues. But it's just like the Matt Taylor. I mean, it's Desert Swarm because it's like to me, it's like just fucking swarm Matt Taylor and make somebody else beat you. So we'll see. We'll see.
I got to cheer for the North Stars after how much they were cheering for the Deeks last week. So I vowed to not drop a fuck the North Stars emoji this week.
There we go. Big game. Big game. Can't wait. Is it Monday yet?
Right.
I got to cheer for the Tigers. I'm not gonna lie.
okay.
North Stars, you don't need them getting a bye. After them looking bad for the beginning of the year, possibly as a contender not to make the playoffs, to all of a sudden have worked their way up for a bye. That would be an awful outcome.
My personal win streak over Piercy is just like up to like 11 now, I think.
Does this include you cheating? Does this
I mean,
include
we got
the
the-
events that you cheated
Oh,
in?
I mean,
does
the
this
All-Star,
include the
the
cheating, the
All-Star
All-Star
game, the
game?
speed skating. I mean, it's like unbelievable. So I don't expect Piercy to cheer for me.
Do you want to have a decathlon? I pick 5 events. You pick 5
Yes,
events.
that would be fun.
and the,
Yes.
the final event is Monday Night Light Chosen.
There we go.
And Slack, if they choose it.
That'd be
That,
fun.
no, that would only be if it was a tie after 10 events.
We can do
Then-
basketball, pool. We can do 10 sports. It's got to be sports. Not trying to be the best at exercising.
Swimming would definitely be one of them.
Piercy's like, we're gonna do Olympic lifting as event number 1.
I don't know.
Hey, bench press. Do I got to pull out the video again?
I was
on the
gonna say,
bench
I've
press?
seen
I've seen the
Troy
video.
doing
I
it.
didn't trust it. I've seen the video.
So, anyways, as always, give us a call on the Whoop line, 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show at podcast@mnlhl.com. Follow Twitch. Subscribe to Twitch. We got the Amazon Prime, Twitch Prime stuff. You get it every 30 days. So if you've done that in the past and you haven't done it again, just go back to twitch.tv/MNLHL and just go under resubscribe. Click that. There's a thing right there. Just do it super quick and super easy. Remind you, we always appreciate it.
And before we leave, I just want to say, Grandma Gio did call in. This is serious news, and I'm only sharing it because it was shared at the rink last night. But for those that don't know, Gio's having himself a little baby girl. So I know Gio's a podcast
Gio.
listener. So
Are you allowed to say that?
he told everybody at the rink last night. So it's no longer a secret. So the end of February, having a little baby girl.
I was sworn to secrecy before the game, so I didn't think that was allowed.
Well, I saw him telling people, so I'm not breaking the news. But congrats to Gio,
Of course.
loyal podcast listener.
Wait, did anybody bet Gio in those preseason prop bets we had?
We already had Chris Taylor come out first.
Oh, for the was there a prop bet on who was going to have a baby?
Who's going to have the
Who,
baby?
who was going to announce they were expecting?
Yeah,
I think it was Peso.
Yeah,
was
someone
my
said
bet.
Peso.
I think
That-
it was my
I said
bet.
I said Peso. Peso was my choice. Chris Taylor was the official answer for the winning thing. The first person to announce they were expecting.
Okay.
Now,
I didn't know.
giving birth wasn't
Congrats.
there, but I think there's a couple MNL babies on the way.
Yeah,
I think we have
Serta popped one out.
No
Sir-
way, really?
Yeah.
All these guys
There's
are dads. I
Serta.
had no idea.
Serta
Dave P
ruined his son's-
has one on the way.
Yeah.
Gio.
Serta's is out of the womb.
Chris Taylor,
December 29th.
Well, that's all right. We can let all those guys take extra time in this off season with their children. They need it. We'll let them out of the playoffs sooner.
Right.
That'll just help our the non-dads slowly climb up the ladder of their draft rankings, and the other guys get out of shape. And
No doubt about it. Kids are terrible for your hockey career.
but yeah, so exciting time, MNL. We're coming down the home stretch, so hopefully next week's just as exciting, and we are over.